All right, this is the Success Publishing Podcast, and my name is Steve Moreland, as you know, and what we do here is we showcase new authors that are recently being published, and we get a chance to interview them and find out why did they decide to become published, a little bit about their story and why this was something that, like a lot of us think about, hey, I should write something. In fact, it's on everybody's bucket list. But then there's a few of the individuals that say, it's not just a thought process that I want to write. I actually am going to do the hard work, go to the next level. And I want to be able to take my story and be able to put it out into the world for an ultimate outcome. So I'm here with Robert today. I'm going to let Robert introduce himself, and then we're going to talk about his book a little bit. We're going to talk about why he decided to write it. We're going to talk about what is the ultimate outcome. So that's kind of a little bit of an idea of where we're going. So Robert, I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about who you are.
All righty. Well, my name is Robert Peizer, and I have been involved with Steve with this process for about 2 years. I have to say my background is a little unusual. I have a master's degree in international business. I studied foreign languages, lived overseas a bunch, but also I have elite training as an athlete as a young person, which helped create my character, as I would call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been through quite a bit of management training, personal development training, communications training. So these are all what I consider gifts that I feel compelled to give to other people, because it's made such a huge difference in my life. I feel like the more I give away these things, the more I get myself. So that's why I do this.
Well, when I took a chance before we got on our call and had our conversation before this morning, I had a chance to look at your press release. I had a chance to go back and look at your book itself and recapture those thoughts, because I know I looked at them back before you actually became published earlier in the year. And I just felt there's so much here. First of all, let's start there. I was just kind of blown away. And I'm like, how are we going to be able to take and compress everything that you have experienced in life, what you have garnered from those experiences, how you have changed your narrative? That's a term I definitely want to talk with you about, because that's the whole idea that you talk about, the focus being the catalytic, help me with a word here, but
factor is like
yes, exactly,
ingredient. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's start there, because I want to get to your two main stories and how your narrative framed in your life that gives you a really good insight. But there was a quote that I pulled out of your book, and it was talking about how you shift focus, which is your main discussion in your book. Mm-hmm. And there was a quote there that someone asked you, and I think it's appropriate here. How long are you willing to keep paying the price of living in the past? And what is it costing you? And when I saw that, I thought, wow, that's a good place for us to start, because like you mentioned, you were training to be an Olympic athlete for the 1980 Olympics. Mm-hmm. And then there was another part of your story that am I using the right word when I say unrequited love? Is that unrequited?
Well, it was a relationship that ended in a train wreck, basically. It wasn't unrequited, but it ended up being so. Yeah. So, but focus was a big part of both of those stories, for sure.
And as I saw you develop your story, it was how you were developing what happened to you at the critical point that sounded like the end of the story, mm-hmm. and how you decided to fall down the rabbit hole in the bad outcome. Yep. And that's so important, because that's everybody in the world. Yeah. How often do we ever end the happy ending exactly how we imagined it when we began the journey, right?
Right.
So tell us about this thing of focus. How did you learn it, and how do you help other people? Because you do all types of coaching, life coaching. Like you said, you have a total background as far as business itself, international business, linguistics. You studied and you speak Chinese. I think, was it Mandarin? Am I correct?
Mandarin, Chinese.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got a background in linguistics, and we talked about our background as far as philosophy and so forth is integrally intertwined. Am I saying that correct? That's a big word for a Texan.
Yeah. Okay. We'll start there. So
sure.
I would say that at the beginning, I learned focus from athletics. I was fortunate enough to have some of the best coaches in the world, and I was a diver, springboard and tower diver.
Sure.
And I was fortunate, as I say, to come across some of the best coaches in the world. The man who coached Greg Louganis, who arguably was the best diver in the world.
Sure.
I also trained with him for a period of time at Ohio State University, went to training camps and things like that. And so the idea of the diving is a particularly intense, let's call it focused, intense sport, because it's split second timing, and one false move or one moment of distraction can end up in not only a bad performance, but pain. You can actually get pretty badly hurt, especially in the tower. And also the discipline of training daily as a teenager, giving up parties and vacations and things like that. But I was focused, and I say that meaning two ways. I was focused on the daily activities, but also on the goal. The goal was an Olympic medal.
Sure.
And I was blessed with enough talent to make that feasible.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only a question of training myself to execute at my highest level.
Right.
And so, but it was a tunnel type of vision. I was only focused on that. And it in hindsight, it was useful. At the same time, it made my life relatively small in terms of other experiences. It was very rich with
Sure.
other athletes and in fact interacting with my coaches and whatnot.
Sure.
But it was singular focus. I was in a pool 8 hours a day, 7 days a
Wow.
week for years at a time.
Wow.
And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to give the spoiler away, but things didn't go that way.
Right.
The ultimate outcome was, as I was headed to the Olympics, I had a pretty severe, traumatic accident to my legs,
Right.
which kind of rendered that moot. I wasn't going to go to the Olympic trials. It was right before the trials were to begin.
Right.
Then it turned out that in 1980, we didn't go to the Olympics anyway.
Right.
And so I could either have spent time wallowing in the pain of that loss and wondering, what I would do with all the time I wasted, et cetera. Or what I learned was I could shift my focus. I was at college at the same time studying languages, and it occurred to me that I could then focus on that experience and what studying languages and business and things other than sports could lead me.
Sure.
And so I was able to take the discipline that I developed as an athlete and the ability to focus and just shift it, and focused on going to school, getting a graduate degree, and then going out into the world and becoming a bigger person than I would have otherwise. Not to say anything negative about athletes, but my scope shifted.
Sure.
Went from a narrow focus, and it was really quite about me. Yes, I would be representing my country, but it was me on the diving board,
Sure.
executing, getting the gold medal.
Right.
This other approach, my shift in focus allowed me to see, well, how can I serve others? How can I make my activities serve more than just me?
Yeah.
And so that worked. I went on and became an entrepreneur, and
Sure.
I traveled around the world. I became a coach. I became a musician. Many,
Right.
many other things. I learned how to shift my focus in different ways, understanding that if I weren't focused on a particular goal, other things would distract me and take my attention away. And so focus became the catalyst, as I say.
Mm-hmm.
If you focus sufficiently, other things will line up with you and contribute to the effort that you're making. It's quite, there's a word called serendipity.
Mm-hmm.
That means that certain things happen to you on the way to something else.
Right.
And so while you're focused on making a difference in the world, other people with similar focus and similar energies and similar intents will show up.
Okay.
And so I found that to be quite true.
So a little bit of Celestine prophecy there, that the right,
Sure.
the right people synchronize, or
Right. Well, and also the law of attraction. I
Yes.
mean, if you focus on abundance and what you want as opposed to what you lack, then things begin to align and are attracted to you could call it your mass. You generate a critical mass, Your
Mhm.
focus becomes almost physical, like the interior of a planet, and then all the other molecules begin to get pulled into that orbit,
Sure,
compress, create bigger mass, and then you have gravity, you have atmosphere, and certain things occur that could never have occurred
sure.
if that focus hadn't begun the process.
So when you use the word focus, um, if we can kind of unbox that a little more, focus is how you are interpreting external events that are occurring in a thing we call life or reality. And that interpretation is deeply, intimately, and immediately based on the context of your personal narrative.
Well, I would actually simplify that just a bit. I mean, that was quite accurate, but to me, focus is only and precisely where you put your attention.
Sure,
So your attention is can be extremely tight, or it can be diffuse.
sure,
And so your focus, it can be the outcome of a deliberative process, your philosophy, your thinking processes. You want to go somewhere, you want to do something, but the devil's in the details, as they say. Well, how are you going to do that? What are the criteria? What are the resources? What's the environment like? That those are to the sides of the issue itself, but your focus is what's the outcome? What are you trying to create?
exactly.
What is the mode or the manner in which you want to execute something? What is the not to put it in too tight a box, because there needs to be flexibility. Too tight a focus, too rigid a focus will kind of disable all the outside influences that may come in to make the outcome better than you could ever imagine. That's one of the beautiful things about a catalyst. It precipitates a reaction, but you don't know all the results that might occur
Sure,
because of that focus. So it's a consistent evaluation of where your mind is going, and the question is, am I focused on the right thing? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish, or what would I like to bring into being? And am I focused on that thing? Am I making it second or third or fourth
sure,
important, or is it making the main thing the main thing?
right.
And so there is discipline involved. It requires um, thinking. It requires to letting go of what could be momentary pleasure or momentary distraction, because if you're doing that, then you're really not moving forward to the goal. Doesn't mean you have to be single-minded about everything all the time, but the more you can keep your focus trained on a certain outcome or a process, or an objective,
Yeah,
the more the energy is around you, the circumstances around you, you can see how they will fit into what you're trying to do.
right.
And so that maintaining focus is almost half the battle. Generating the focus in the first place, number one.
Sure.
Keeping focus is number two.
So, okay. So generating the focus, which means you have to
Which
have a
a
bigger,
vision. I was going to say,
yes,
creating a vision, then you
right.
focus on the vision. Yeah.
So you have to have something, though, that's bigger than yourself. And that's what the transition was, where you took all this incredible discipline combined with talent to be an Olympic athlete and hold the gold, right? Get the gold, stand up on the podium. And then you took all of that and you transitioned it because you were able to alter your narrative, that all of those 10,000-hour rules that had been aimed and single focused at the exclusion of everything else,
Yep.
all of a sudden got instantly ripped away by an unknown, right?
Correct.
Couldn't have expected it. And then you realized, well, heck, 1980 Olympics didn't actually happen anyway, but you were able to ask the next bigger question, which is, how do I take all of this and move myself forward? And what you're saying is, it doesn't have to be so rigid. Focus doesn't have to be like you're training to get the gold in the diving competition, which was exclude everything else. You're saying that there's a little more of an ebb and flow. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah. So it's good to focus narrowly at the beginning in particular. One of my mentors said, it's the first 10%. If you
Okay.
get the first 10% right, then most of the rest of it should follow, barring, extreme circumstances. But what I asked myself was, what's a big enough goal? What's a big enough vision for my life? What I realized was that the goal of being an Olympic athlete, a gold medal winner, was a laudable one, was worthy, but it was a narrow goal.
Sure.
And the training I underwent after the Olympics, after my athletic training, led me to ask myself the question, well, how big do I want my life to be?
Mm-hmm.
How
Sure.
good do I want it? Which is a really interesting question. How good can you have it?
Right.
And the answer is you can have it all. I mean, you really can. Um, it's not one of those pie in the sky things. I don't mean you can have all the cars and boats and planes you want, but satisfaction in your life, fulfillment, the things that really matter when you're at the other end of your life, when you
Right.
look back and you wonder what was really worthwhile and what wasn't.
Right.
Sure, it would have been fun to and rewarding to win the medal, but the impact of on other people's lives along the way, the example I set, the coaching and the inspiration I could provide for other people would have meant a great deal more. The
Yes.
process was at least equal to the end result. And so I asked myself that question: what's a big enough goal, vision for my life? And that's how I've transitioned into looking at the world, the globe, not just the U.S. or not just my city or whatever, but there's a big world out there. When I studied Chinese and Russian and French and Turkish and all those other languages,
Sure.
it really opened up my thinking to, well, how do I make a big enough difference for everyone?
Right.
And that the first step is to become a big enough person yourself.
Yeah.
When you expand your vision outside of the ego and the little box we find ourselves in, the job,
Right.
the 40-hour week and all that stuff.
Sure.
Well, there's many ways you can make a difference. And then you can choose your focus depending on how many people or how big an impact you want to have.
Right. Okay. So we go back to focus and the vision and attention, and that kind of brings up, something that I'm going to bring right out of your press release here. It says, when there is a focus, a vision, a central point of attention or activity that pulls you downstream toward it, effort does not equal struggle. So unbox that for me.
All right. Well, I don't mean to say that you can sit on your couch and manifest everything that you want in the world.
Sure.
Effort is required to produce a result.
Mm-hmm.
Struggle, to me, in my own thinking, it means that there's resistance, that there's a lack of a misalignment somewhere.
Okay.
What I have found is that when you're focused on something that is invigorating, that really lights you up, that gets your passions going, you move toward it with more energy, with joy, with energy and I would say delight. If you're struggling, then you might want to examine your goal or your vision or the way you're going about it. I spent hours and hours and hours, countless hours in the pool, and I didn't suffer because I did that. It was my goal pulled me forward. The idea of standing on that platform with a gold medal and having everybody going, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That gave me the energy
Right.
to almost ignore the hardships. It was
Sure.
there were not mornings when it was 30 degrees and I still had to get to the pool and all kinds of things like that. But the enjoyment I got from the process, the goal was sufficiently strong for me. It pulled me toward it. So
Right.
just like if you have a kid and the kid's sick, you're not going to pay attention to the fact that you don't have matching socks on, or the car only has a couple of bucks of gas in it. Well, you're going to take care of the kid.
Sure.
All the other concerns drop away
Yep.
because the concern or the thing pulling you forward is so important to you, everything else falls away.
Yeah.
So when your focus is that clear and your vision is exciting to you, it has to be something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Then there's struggle. If you're not passionate about it, you're struggling. Most folks find themselves in jobs that aren't particularly rewarding, so they suffer through
Yes.
that process. But if you enjoy what you do, what's that man say? You never work a day in your life.
Perfect. So if you take that idea, and as you coach and consult with clients all over the world, I do want to come back to your book here in just a second and get to that, but I want to understand your process, your methodology.
Mhm.
And so as you're taking someone and you're saying, okay, you're in a job, hopefully it's not a dead end job, but maybe it's just the job that is just getting you by. And obviously they're not feeling invigorated. They're not being passionate. So walk me through kind of a process that you would do as a coach, because I've read all the testimonials in the beginning of your book, talking about different people from different walks of life that have such incredible accolades about how you have helped them with breakthroughs in their lives. So if I'm the guy that's walking in saying I'm stuck and I don't know what about to do, I'm stuck. Okay, Robert, help me. What am I missing?
Okay, well, I'm going to hark back to something you mentioned earlier where I said, how long are you going to pay the price of living in the past?
Yeah.
I usually start there
Okay.
because one of my guiding principles is that most of us go through life actually in somewhat of a backwards fashion. We're actually we're backing into the future, looking at our past.
Whoa. Okay.
And we are continuously evaluating our future based on the past.
Wow.
Really, the past has nothing to do with your future if you actually turn around and leave the past behind and face the future, because the future actually has nothing in it until you put something there.
Oh, wow.
The
Okay.
future is a wide open blank slate until you reach back and put the past into it, and you keep reliving the same things over and over again, which is why people continuously experience, well, that relationship went the same way as the other three, or that job was not the one I wanted. We usually have this, what I call automatic machinery, and it runs us, and we don't have access to the machinery until we stop and have a conversation with someone outside of our experience,
Right.
who says, well, the language you're using is indicative of something that already occurred. You're talking about the past as if that's your future. Let's stop a moment. Now, I'm not going to fix the past for you, but I'm going to point you at the past, and you're going to decide what is it that's from the past that's still in your future. You're the only one that knows that. And through a guided conversation,
Right.
we can generally uncover something that was hidden before, that once they realize that, that thing happened to me and I've just not ever let it go. It keeps coming up in my life. Then now you have a choice. Now you have access.
Yeah.
And I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist, but I'm someone who can point out these recurring themes, these habits, these loops that we go through. I can point to them and say, well, look there. And if you can look there, I can help you to, the word I would say is relegated to the past. If something bad happened to you, it's not about forgiving the person that did it to you. It's not about making it okay. It's about relinquishing the power that thing has on you today.
Right. And the power that those past experiences, the way we grade them and the way we remember, I'm using that term intentionally, remember, okay, is the memory of what happened in the past is actually not the way the past happened. So
Absolutely.
It's not truth.
It's a story. It's a story.
It's a
and
story.
I don't mean, it's what we do as human beings. We're story making machines. We always interpret, and then we have to put it somewhere. We have to file it somewhere. That was a good one. That was a bad one. That was, like this. And so it's not bad, but it doesn't serve us.
Right.
And there's an interesting parallel you can make with animals. Something bad, a dog runs across the street, gets hit by a car briefly, maybe breaks its leg, but the dog jumps up and said, okay, I got 3 legs, let's go. What's next?
Right.
the dog isn't living in the past.
Right.
And it might be a little bit of a brutal image, but the idea is that human beings hang on to those things. We hang on, we make up a story, then we say, well, I should have said that, or what did they mean by that? Oh, I know what they meant. No, you don't.
Or you start an organization that wants to dismantle all automobiles because you got bumped by it, and you go on this crusade that just has no greater good for you.
Sure. Well, there's retribution. There's getting back at.
Sure. And blame.
Well, blame is a big part of it.
Sure.
It's part of not being responsible. It doesn't mean that it's your fault that anything happened to you. Most of what happens to us is not our fault per se. We were there when it happened.
Yes.
It's what we say about what happened that governs how we're going to act in the future.
Yes.
So part of my process is to help people understand that certain things happen to them during their lives, and they're still reacting to those things as if they had just occurred like moments ago.
Yeah.
Or yesterday instead of 30 years ago.
Right.
When that happens, there's an enormous freeing of energy because our energy is locked up in those remembrance, those memories.
Sure.
I still have conversations with my, third grade teacher about, I didn't leave that book. I didn't do it.
Sure. Right.
And so my energy is locked up there. It's being used over there instead of going forward. I have an initiative I want to bring into the world, but I have half the energy or part energy because it's locked up in these conversations. And you can go through a whole litany of events like that, especially in relationships.
Sure.
You better not be like the last one because the last one did this or that to me, and then that person doesn't have a chance because you're comparing them to someone they have no chance of competing with.
Well, and what you use the term is the place you want that's waiting for you is downstream. And what happens is most people don't let go to get downstream to find the better outcome because they're still deciding to live in that past. And therefore they themselves inside can't change. And so therefore they keep acting as a lightning rod to draw the negative relationships, whether that be business, whether it be personal, whether it be romantic, whether it be, everything we have in life is relationship generated. But because you don't let yourself, what's the right word I want to use? Evolve and go downstream and let go. You used the right term a minute ago. You have to let go of the stories you have been hanging on to and retelling and retelling and retelling. Okay.
Right.
To be the new person that you need to be, that's going to enjoy a future that's waiting for you downstream.
That's exactly right. And I would even say that it's not to become a different person, it's to become yourself.
Oh, okay.
Because the person who's stuck isn't really who you are.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Right. That's a shell. That's a layer of an onion skin, you can say.
It's a fabrication that you have made by remembering what didn't really happen.
Because it's not settled. If something were completely in the past, it would not affect you today. It's the things that we keep bringing forward that are unresolved, that drain our energy, distract our focus, and prevent us from manifesting. That's stuff that always wants to come out. We all have these golden seeds. Joseph Campbell's fond of saying those golden seeds you're born with, they never go away. But they get covered over. They don't get sufficient nutrients. They don't get fed and watered. But the talent, that gold, that your gold mine, your treasure is always inside. It just doesn't have a chance to come out.
Wow.
And the other thing I'll just say is that when you find what's been your anchor, the ball and chain that's been holding you back, what Joseph Campbell would say is that that's your treasure. Once you find what is holding you back, once you can go into the cave that you're afraid to go into, that's where you'll find the thing that will set you free.
Right.
Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. That's where you should look. Don't ignore it. Don't cover it over.
Right.
Go there and look at it. When you meet it, you'll see that it's yourself. You're looking at yourself in the mirror, and all you have to do is acknowledge it's just you.
Wow.
They didn't mean it. They didn't do it on purpose. It wasn't about you. It was about them, but you made it about you.
Yes.
And that's the thing that's keeping you back. When you can finally resolve that, you'll be peaceful and you'll become energized.
Wow. I think you just explained in a nutshell the extraordinary coach that you are. You just did that.
Well, thanks. I mean, I feel like I've learned this and I need to give it away. I need to give it away to other people so they can similarly let go of the things that are in their own way.
Right. Well, tell us about the book, because what you just explained is how you function as a coach, your articulation, the sequential thought that you have, obviously your personal experience, which is to me the most valuable thing. You're not just coming from a position of theoretical hypotheses and book training. Those are good, and they are all our beginning points, okay? Because we have to have a framework, right? But what you have is the experience that you've been through life, and now you're here helping other people through your experiential model. So let's talk about the book for a second, if we can. And now that you've expressed how you do the coaching,
Sure.
Yeah, but you have something else you wanted to say first.
Well, no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying that on the other hand, this is sort of the intellectual approach. This is a refinement of behavioral analysis and thinking and communication skills and whatnot. The other part of the book is a story of heartbreak, which is completely
Right.
emotional.
Mhm.
And I experienced, I'm sure everyone has a story of, what you called unrequited love before, and relationships that didn't go the right way. Well, my
Sure.
experience was even more so, I would call it a little brutal. I left San Francisco, where I was a consultant and an entrepreneur and musician
Right.
and all these things, and moved to another state in order to be with someone I met
Right.
on a trip.
Yeah.
And I was in love. It was like the best thing that ever happened to me. I was at a point in my life where I thought everything was coming together.
Sure.
And so about 6 months after I moved and, sold everything and kind of gave it, 100%, I was at home one night, and my lady friend said that she was going to go visit her parents up in Phoenix the next day, and she was going to be gone for a few days. So she gets on the road and then calls me from the road and said, well, really, I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. And so I had to be with that for a little bit. That was quite a shock. And I fell into the trap of making it about me.
Yeah.
I fell into the trap of saying, oh my God, I've made such a mistake. I'm so stupid. Why does this always happen to me? I mean, all the things I just argued against, right?
Right.
I drug up every relationship I'd ever had in the past and, oh, this is just like that. Oh, women can't be trusted. Oh, I'm no good.
Sure.
I'm not like that. So it took returning to a group of people who I'd found to be very supportive in behavioral matters, communication matters, to realize that I had just simply made a story up. Just like I explained in the first part of the interview, that I had an interpretation of events that I believed was the truth with a capital T.
Yes.
And no one could talk me out of the fact that she left me. She was terrible. She was a horrible person. I'm worthless. Didn't deserve her. I spent a lot of years, 4 years actually, in that spot.
Okay.
And then I realized what I was doing. Someone asked me that question. They said, how long are you willing to pay the price of living in the past?
Right.
And I had to say to myself, I am no longer willing to do that.
Right.
And it was as simple as that. And I make a difference. I create a difference. I draw a distinction between choosing and deciding.
Mm-hmm.
I had decided that she was worthless and bad, and I was wrong and bad, and all those things. I chose to believe that it was really a matter of her own insecurity. It was about her leaving, that the event was more her leaving than it was about me.
Sure.
And I could see the impact of that first decision that put all the blame on myself. I felt guilty. I felt horrible, all these things. But as soon as I chose to believe that, she chose to leave, she decided to leave because she had some issues. She had some things going on that made it not work out. She actually did me a favor because I had spent years and years and years with her, I think. And then it happened, I would have lost a lot more of my life in that regard. I was willing to take the risk at the beginning, but I realized now that I had put my trust in a flimsy structure, let's just say.
Right.
So again, changing focus.
Yeah.
I changed my focus from how badly the relationship went and my bad choices and all the negative things that I interpreted about that event to, well, what did I get from that? Oh, I had the adventure of my life. I would take a chance like that again if I met someone that I felt so completely connected to and all that. It didn't go well, but it doesn't negate the value of the adventure that I went on.
Sure. Yeah.
It gave me breakthroughs in understanding languaging, communications, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
I trusted myself to make that choice, and I trusted her. Now, my trust in her was less well-founded, but that doesn't mean I can't trust someone else.
Right.
The story about other people being not worthy or not good enough is just a story. There are
Yes, it is.
wonderful people out in the world. I meet them all the time.
Right.
And so I'm able to take that part of the equation, the emotional part, real heartbreak. I was clinically depressed for a while.
You're right.
And shift my focus. And I tell people that story now to help them overcome their own
Yes.
problems, their own difficulties in the area of romance. It's not just about business or professionalism or just interpersonal communication. It's when your heart's involved, when you can't really think straight. Focus also plays a role there.
Absolutely. Amazing. Well, I mean, again, you kind of added to the first part of our interview here that, you know, your application of your process is broadband. There are so many individuals that are hurting, that are stuck, like we talked about early on. Hey, I'm stuck. Robert, what do I do? And that's really where you begin doing your coaching. And so I wanted to get a chance just to showcase your book. Obviously, you've had it released. There it is, Boundless Success. Yep, I see it.
Okay. And I want to make one other point really quickly, Steve. It starts with a conversation.
Yeah.
The whole process starts with a conversation. And what we do is we shift the conversation. That's the core of everything that is in my book and my philosophy, my approach. Saying a new thing that you hadn't said before, making a space where you can say and do new things creates a new life.
Yeah.
Or gives your life back.
Yes.
It's just one life, right? But I just needed to say that clearly because I say on my website, Catalytic Coaching, that let's have a conversation.
Right.
And I bet it will be surprising. And you might be surprised at yourself as well as what I say. But we're going to shift the conversation from what got you stuck to an opening that will take you in a direction that you choose freely and powerfully, that frees you from the constraints of the past.
And I noticed that continued that comment or concept in every one of the testimonials that are in your book is every single one of them used the same word, is that Robert listens. Mm-hmm. And I think that is invaluable because you've got all of this experience. And obviously your book helps individuals know more about you before they begin this conversation. Right. But the conversation means that you're here to listen. And when you see the different patterns that you recognize from experience, that you've helped so many others overcome their limiting narratives that they have. Absolutely. And help them let go of the past, like you said. And then it's instead of trying to move forward in life, face the wrong direction toward the past, you learn to let go of it, not to hate it, not to say things against other people, but just to go, it happened, it's done, it's over.
I release the power that it has over me.
There it is. And that allows you, that letting go frees you of that negative energy. From an esoteric standpoint, you feel more vital because you have more of the vital, elan vital, I think is the French, am I using the correct term?
Yes. Joie de vivre.
Yeah, there you go. So you have that vigor and that instant level of energy that, you know, you all of a sudden are now moving forward. You're excited. You have this ability to go find this bigger thing that's now going to draw you downstream to meet the version of who you really are.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Fantastic. Wow. Well, I've enjoyed having the interview with you, and I know that you're going to make so many differences in so many people's lives. Obviously, in the description, we'll put the press release down and how people can reach you. But can you just give us here? Is there a website or how?
Sure. So catalytic coaching.
Okay.
.biz, B-I-Z.
Okay.
So catalytic, like a catalytic converter.
Sure.
Catalytic coaching, all one word. .biz.
Okay.
I do have an Instagram. You can find. I have a Linktree account. So if we're going to put that in there, it'll connect you to all those things. So perfect. Instagram is a lot of the wonderful teachings that I've absorbed over the years. I just share that with people. The breakthrough phrases, they're like coins. They're like catalysts, if you like,
sure. Mm-hmm.
that will open up a new way of thinking to folks. And,
fantastic. Outstanding. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for hanging out with me, and just, time is our most our constantly reducing asset. We don't ever get more of it, but you getting a chance to express this. And I keep going back to the fact that, I've met so many individuals and interviewed so many people that have great theories and hypotheses about how to fix people's lives. And those are good and great. But what I love about yours is it's so experiential. And I think that is the endearing quality that is going to allow that conversation that you want to begin with people that are stuck. And you can help them become unstuck.
Yes, sir. That's my vision for my life right now.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again,
so
my
much,
friend.
Steve. Appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.